On April Fool's Day, my roommate Xiao Yu put my photo and contact information on the confession wall with the caption "Need a man, first come, first serve." My phone was inexplicably blown up, and after the evening self-study, someone covered my eyes and mouth and dragged me into the woods. When I was rescued, my body was already broken. When the police caught Xiao Yi, he said inferently that it was just a joke and said that I was hurt simply because I wore a skirt to seduce people in the middle of the night. The counselor also advised me to be harmonious and keep things quiet, and said that such things are not a big deal in the new era. Later, I jumped from the rooftop of the school, and everyone in my class was admitted to graduate school. I came back to the morning of April Fool's Day. This time it was my turn to play a joke on fate. During the morning self-study, obscene text messages kept popping up on my phone, mixed with unsightly pictures and hundreds of calls from unfamiliar numbers. It was the same today in my previous life. Xiao Yi told me that the school had a tradition of joking with each other on April Fool's Day and told me not to care, not to look at it, and not to answer it. I was a freshman who had just transferred to this university not long ago, but Xiao Yi had been there for 2 years, and he was the first person in the dormitory to express his friendliness to me, so I believed his words and only knew that the truth was not so until I was hurt. All these tragedies were because Xiao Yi secretly took a picture of me wrapped in a bath towel after taking a shower, added my contact information and put it on the confession wall, and also wrote "Need a man, first come first." Seeing these text messages again, and Xiao Yi laughing beside me, I knew I was reborn. Seeing me frowning and staring at the phone, Xiao Yi patted me inferently and said, "Xiaola, you will get used to it. You won't receive these pranks after today." But this time I didn't listen to him and turn off my phone like in my previous life. Instead, I copied down the numbers that sent me text messages one by one and reported them directly to the counselor, saying that someone got my contact information from somewhere and kept harassing me. At the same time, I was also prepared for the counselor to favor Xiao Yi again and keep things quiet. I secretly handed over the website address of the school confession. Wallen took screenshots of Xiao Yi's contribution. At this time, it had been forwarded more than 500 times, so I could sue him for spreading rumors. Sure enough, although the counselor was very angry when reading the content, he only said one sentence in the end: "We are all classmates. I will deal with it. Talk to them properly and don't make jokes. Classmate Kianla, you should also be generous and don't care about it. It's just a few text messages and a few phone calls. It's not a big deal." Yes, I created a life in my previous life, but it didn't matter in their eyes. They even used the guarantee of admission to graduate school to cover up the fermentation of the truth, not to mention that I am not dead in this life. I am no longer so easy to control with the memory of my previous life. After leaving the counselor's office, I called the police and told them that someone was spreading obscene pornography and spreading rumors on campus. This is not a small crime. In less than 10 minutes, I met two policemen, a man and a woman. My eyes were red, and I showed them the Lincoln screenshot of the confession wall with trembling hands and explained that the person in the picture was me and the contact information was also mine. But I didn't know who did such a bad thing. Finally, I told them seriously that I suspected that there was a bad industry chain in the school and some illegal activities were carried out in the name of the confession wall. Otherwise, how could a decent website post such things? The police said that they attached great importance to my opinions. Whether it was the content or the industry chain problem I just suspected, it was very important. I finally made a big fuss about the matter. This time it was the counselor who came to me with a dark face, followed by Xiao Yi, who was crying. At this time I was washing clothes in the dormitory. The two policemen had to go to investigate the IP address and left. They agreed to come back to continue to understand the situation with me after the investigation. At this time, I was the only one in the dormitory. The counselor first asked me with a gloomy face whether I had suffered any actual harm because of these things. I shook my head and said no. The counselor's tone suddenly became dissatisfied. "Since no, why do you have to be so unreasonable, classmate? Are you so upset about a little joke I played on you? Xiao Yang, who was crying behind him, also echoed, "Yeah, why did you call the police if it was no actual harm?" I pretended to be surprised with a face full of confusion. "Xiao Yi, what are you talking about? Did you post that post on the confession wall?" After that, I pretended to be sad, as if I really didn't know that he was the initiator. Xiao Yi realized that he had let the cat out of the bag and quickly made amends. "Yes, I was just joking with you." Seeing that I was not too excited, the counselor quickly took advantage of the situation and said, "Qianla, since it's all a misunderstanding, you should cancel the report, otherwise it will have a bad impact on our school. Besides, I know you and Xiao Yi are both applying for scholarships, and you also receive poverty subsidies from the school. Now that the misunderstandings have been resolved, the school is so good to you, you can't be ungrateful and smear the school. This is threatening me with the poverty subsidy qualification and scholarship." I pretended to think for a while, but they thought I compromised. Just when the counselor smiled and was about to praise me for being sensible, I shot back, "You are right. It is precisely because the school is so good to me that I can't allow some illegal behaviors to happen in the school. Xiao Yi may just be joking with me, but the confession wall is not reviewed and this kind of content is spread. I have reason to suspect that he deliberately smeared our school." I said it righteously, and the counselor's face completely gloomy, and Xiao Yi also looked incredulous. The counselor and Xiao Yi could never have imagined that I, who was always weak, would be so tough today. No matter what they said, they couldn't convince me. Seeing that the counselor's threats were useless, Xiao Yi's eyes were red again in desperation, and he played the emotional card. "Xiaola, when you first came to our dormitory, no one paid attention to you. Only I took you to familiarize yourself with the campus and took you to the cafeteria for meals. Have you forgotten? Now I ask you for such a small favor, but you won't agree to it." As he spoke, tears rolled down his cheeks, which made the counselor feel distressed, and the look in his eyes when he looked at me showed even more dissatisfaction. But I didn't buy it at all, just because in my previous life he always laughed happily after I got into trouble, and said to me with disdain, "Isn't it normal to joke on April Fool's Day? Ki-Anla, you should reflect on yourself. As a girl, you actually walked around the school in such a short skirt at night. Who else would those people pull if not you?" After saying that, he was amazed and took pictures with his mobile phone under the pretext of applying medicine to me, saying that he wanted to keep evidence for me. In fact, he turned around and posted a confession wall with my face, and the text was "Sophomore girl, fierce trophy in the woods, pictures and truth." Netizens who watched the fun forwarded it like crazy and forwarded it to various platforms. My mobile phone number and personal information were all exposed. Countless harassing calls came in every day. Later, I would tremble when I heard the ringing of my mobile phone. The restaurant where I worked also fired me, saying that they were a serious restaurant and didn't want dishonest people. I also lost my only source of income from working. At that time, when I walked on the street, I felt that people looked at me with malicious eyes. I could only lower my head and look at the ground, fearing that others would see my face. When I found out that these photos were spread by Xiao Yi again, I asked him why he did that. He also looked so heartbroken, saying that he deliberately made a big deal so that I could get more compensation, and he said it was for my own good. The other two roommates also chimed in, making me know how to be grateful. Xiao Yi also added fuel to the fire and said, "If your skin is not so white, how could this happen if you were not wearing a skirt and strolling by the grove at night? Jala, you actually hurt yourself." The funny thing is that at that time, I actually really blamed myself stupidly. I couldn't sleep every night dreaming about everything that had happened, and then I had self-destructive thoughts in the middle of the night. I blamed myself for wearing a skirt. I blamed myself for why my skin was so white. I blamed myself for why I was curvy, and I blamed myself for why I was a girl. My emotions began to collapse and my spirit began to disperse. At this time, the police notified me that they had caught the people who hurt me and asked me to go to the police station to claim them. I recognized those smiling beasts at a glance. They also looked fearless in the police station. They had a lawyer who kept saying that I had a monetary transaction with them and that there were witnesses. I shouted loudly over and over again that I didn't, but it was useless. I still felt strange looks. The unscrupulous lawyer asked me to orally describe what happened that night over and over again, forcing me to recall and then catch me in the detail. They were not satisfied until they forced me to collapse and cry. It was not until Zhao Yian, the counselor, came that my emotions stabilized. I thought they were here to help me, but I didn't expect that the witness the other lawyer mentioned was Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took out an envelope I had never seen before. There was 10,000 yuan in it. He said he found it under my pillow and said that my family was very poor and I needed money. The counselor also proved that I was applying for poverty subsidies and then looked at me with contempt. Once Xiao Yi and I shared the situation of our hometown without reservation, which became his weapon to attack me. With their testimony, the bad guys were acquitted, but I was taught a lesson and was told the price of making false reports and accusing others. From then on, my mental state was on the verge of collapse. After returning to school, everything that happened in the police station was widely spread by people with ulterior motives on the confession wall, and the commentary below was disgusting. I read one by one until my mouth bled. Have you heard that there is a girl who makes money by doing that? So disgusting. I heard that she was not satisfied with the price and falsely accused the customer of rape. It's that little Forrest. She is really good at playing. I know, she is very white. When I just enrolled, I thought she was very pure, but I didn't expect it. Things continued to develop in an uncontrollable direction. The next day, the counselor informed me that due to my bad behavior, it had caused a very bad impact on the school, and the school decided to expel me. The kind-hearted person who sponsored me to go to college was also notified. His eyes of disappointment in me were like a knife, which made me more heartbroken than rumors. On the last day of school, I hid in the toilet of the teaching building and cried quietly. At this moment, it seemed that there was no place for me in this school except the toilet. The female classmates thought I was dirty, and the male classmates thought I was cheap. They threw all my personal belongings in the classroom into the trash can and did not allow me to sit in my seat. I stood next to the trash can, and someone deliberately threw a drink at me, which made others laugh. Dirty things should be washed well. I had no friends and I could not stay in school any longer. I could only hide in the toilet and cry, but I accidentally heard the conversation between Xiao Yian and other female classmates, which made me feel cold all over. My former desk mate was the first to speak. He joked with Xiao Yi with a smile. Xiao Yi, you treated Qianla like a dog. Are you happy now? Then Xiao Yi replied arrogantly, not enough. I will be happy only when she is kicked out of school completely. Then a voice that I was unfamiliar with rang out. She is already like this. Isn't it just that Lin Wei praised her fair skin that day? Xiao Yi, I advise you to stop. Hey, classmate Song, are you pretending to be a good person now? It was you who suggested bringing those young masters to our school for excitement. You got a lot of benefits, right? Why are you pretending now? The conversation stopped abruptly. I listened in the toilet cubicle, covering my mouth tightly, tears streaming down my face. So, this is it. It turned out to be like this. The tragedy of my life was just because of a compliment from a strange man. I wanted to laugh and cry, but in the end I was left with sobriety. I cheered myself up again and prepared to call the police again to seek justice for myself. But at this time I received a call from my parent. Dad said that the counselor called them and told them what happened to me in school. As rural people with little experience, they just felt ashamed. They also told me that they had arranged a marriage for me with a 50-year-old man whose wife had just died. They received a gift of 188,000 yuan from him and would take me home to marry tomorrow. They said that since I was in this state, I might as well get married and earn some living expenses for my brother. I used to be full of yearning for college and grateful to the sponsor for bringing me out of the sea of suffering. But now all of this has been destroyed. I hated it so much but was powerless. In despair, I walked onto the balcony of the teaching building. On the first day after my death, I was still wandering in the classroom. I heard the counselor warn everyone not to go out and talk about me and promised that everyone could be guaranteed to study. I saw that the principal gave my parents 200,000 yuan, Xiao Yi gave 8,800 yuan, and the men who hurt me gave a total of 200,000 yuan, and my parents agreed to reconcile. My death brought them a huge fortune, more than the betrothal gift. My father was so happy that he showed his yellow teeth. I didn't expect that the dead girl was worth so much. Let's go today. I also know that there are several families in the village who are looking for ghost marriage partners. If they can match, they can make a lot of money. The classmates in the class were also very happy and obtained the qualification for guaranteed postgraduate study. The various things in my previous life were like a movie playing in front of me, which made my hatred continue to rise. When I looked at the counselor and Zhao Yi in front of me, I couldn't help but reveal some cruelty. Zhao Yi shuddered and asked me, Xiaola, what should I do to make you forgive me and withdraw the police report? Or let me slap you twice to calm down. I looked innocent, but I said it with a smile. The counselor and Xiao Yi didn't expect me to say such words. It was just based on their previous understanding of me that they thought that being slapped by me would at most touch their faces, and there would be no practical effect. Xiao Yi bit his lip and was still struggling, but the counselor made the decision for him. Then slap Xiao Yi twice, and everything will be written off. I nodded excitedly, and Xiao Yi was still pretending to be calm. Then it's settled. I'll slap you twice, and you have to go to the police station to cancel it. The counselor is watching here. You can't cheat. I couldn't wait to shake my hands and stretch my muscles. Ready, my hands have been used to do farm work since I was a child, and with the hatred of my previous life, I slapped him twice with lightning speed. My palms were particularly beautiful on Xiao Yi's fair face, and he cried after realizing it. It hurts too much, you hit too hard. Xiao Yi complained. Tears fell again, and his swollen face made him look like a pig's head at the moment. I've slapped you, and I'm angry. I'll go to cancel it in a while. The counselor looked at Xiao Yi, then at me, and I nodded in agreement. But they both seemed to have forgotten that today was April Fool's Day. I just played a little joke on them. Although I really went to the police station in the afternoon, I didn't go to cancel the report, but to play a long game. According to my memory in my previous life, Xiao Yi had two accomplices. Among them, the girl Suriname Song played the role of initiating men outside to harm girls in our school. According to her proficiency, I should not be the first victim in my previous life, let alone the last one. After arriving at the police station, I found the female police officer who contacted me and told her that the bad industrial chain in the school I mentioned before would take action tonight. The police said that they attached great importance to it. In order to protect my personal safety, the police sent a little sister Kadma Shuoen to accompany me. In name, she was my sister who came to see me from my hometown and accompanied me back to school. It was getting dark. I listened carefully in class and was not affected by what happened during the day. Instead, Xiao Yi, who was swollen like a pig, kept staring at me fiercely. I believe he wanted to kill me now. When the bell rang for the first evening self-study get out of class, a classmate told me that someone was looking for me outside. I looked back and saw a strange boy smiling and greeting me. I walked out in confusion, and he introduced himself with a red face. My name is Lin Wei. I'm a senior, 1 year older than you. I saw your message on the confession wall today. I found that you are my type. Classmate Keon, are you willing to be my girlfriend? As soon as I finished speaking, there was a clamor in the classroom. Promise him, promise him. Before I could answer, Xiao Yu rushed over with red eyes. Lin Wei, how can you like her? Didn't you say you like me? I was watching from the side and almost laughed to death. Xiao Yi killed me for this man in his previous life, but his face was just swollen and this man couldn't recognize him. Moreover, Xiao Yi claimed in class every day that he was Lin Wei's girlfriend, but now this man came to confess to me, which was really funny. After laughing, I still rejected him, saying that I was here to study and had no intention of falling in love for the time being. Lin Wei was not embarrassed. He laughed and said it was just an April Fool's Day joke, don't mind it, and hurried away, leaving Xiao Yi embarrassed and me, who was trying not to laugh. Xiao Yi had a lot of anger in his heart, and when he looked at my face, his eyes were even more poisonous. He actually skipped the second evening self-study class. When the teacher called the roll, he found that he was not there and failed him directly. I guess he must be preparing a way to plot against me, but I'm not afraid. Sister Zhiwo and is waiting for me outside. The principal knows that she is here, so she can move freely on campus. The evening self-study finally ended. and I met Sister Zhuo, and as soon as I went out, she told me something she had just heard outside the door. That Xiao Yi is your classmate, right? I nodded. I just heard her tell your counselor that you bought a lot of electronic products and hid them under the bed, and said that you are not a poor student at all, and asked your counselor to cancel your poverty subsidy. I didn't interrupt and waited quietly for Sister Zhuo and to continue. I also heard a person named Song Yin that you always go through the grove when you go back to the dormitory, so let Song Yin be prepared. Are we going to go that way now? What was supposed to come finally came. I nodded and told Sister Zhuo, and that this Song Yin was the suspect I had locked onto. I can't tell everything I experienced and heard in my previous life. I can only tell the story by turning myself into another victim little girl in my previous life. After hearing this, Sister Zhuo and fell silent. It took her a long while to utter, "They are all beasts." When we were approaching the grove, I quietly distanced myself from Sister Zhuo and suddenly several big hands stretched out from the darkness, covered my mouth, imprisoned my body, and laughed horribly in my ears, dragging me inside the same nightmare as in my previous life reappeared. The difference was that I was no longer alone this time. Sister Zhuo and took action to deal with the three beasts after discovering the abnormality. They couldn't run away even if they wanted to. The support Sister Zhuo and called came quickly, and this time the police car also came. In public, I identified Xiao Yi, Song Yin, and the counselor. Xiao Yi's smile was uglier than crying. April Fool's Day is almost over, Xiaola. Stop joking. I don't know those people at all. Song Yun was much calmer. I don't even know you. How can you identify me, Mr. Police? I don't even know her. The counselor was the most panicked of the three people, so panicked that he spoke without thinking. Crayonla, why are you crazy in the middle of the night? Why did you call the police again? Is it fun to waste national resources? And where did you find these men as actors to frame us? Just because I want to cancel your poverty subsidy, you want to retaliate against me. You are such a vicious woman. I didn't say much because the facts were verified by the police. Song Yin still wanted to quibble, but the three men who were arrested directly identified her, saying that she only took money but did not work, which made her quiet down. They were soon taken away by the police and faced 24 hours of detention and interrogation. After dealing with Xiao Yi, my next goal was to retaliate against the other two people in the dormitory who bullied me in my previous life. April Fool's Day. I will play with you to your heart's content. As soon as I arrived at the door of the dormitory, I found that my things were thrown at the door. The door was open. The other two people in the dormitory were looking at me with dissatisfaction. The bed where my sheets and quilts should have been placed was full of miscellaneous items. I didn't take my luggage in immediately, but looked at them calmly. What do you want to do? Kifei, the girl on my upper bunk, was the one who hated me the most in this dormitory because she felt that pure students were not worthy of living in the same dormitory with them. She was the one who made things difficult for me at the beginning. After Xiao Yi showed me goodwill, she reluctantly got along with me. For this, I was grateful to Xiao Yi and thanked him for bringing me into this group. Later, when I was often bullied, she advised me to be harmonious, but I endured it. In my previous life, I later learned that Xiao Yi was the big sister who controlled the entire dormitory. She was the leader of the 8 groups of 4 people. When I was bullied, she came to save me, but it was all a drama arranged by her. In order to make me more dependent on her and more obedient, she even let Kifei be a little more excessive to me. At this moment, Kifei was still bossing me around. What are you doing? I told you to get out. Country people are country people. They will pounce on men when they see them. How dare you snatch Xiao Yi's boyfriend and beat him up like that? Xiao Yi is so good to you. Poor mountains and bad waters produce unruly people, ungrateful, ungrateful wolves. We have already talked to the counselor and asked you to move out tomorrow. You will have to stay at the door for 1 night today. The other person just looked at me unfairly. They thought I would hide and cry like before, and then keep trying to please them to get a moment of peace. But they didn't know that I had died once, and people who had died once would not wrong themselves. I ignored them directly, walked in, rushed into the toilet, and when Kifei was about to start scolding me, I poured all the dirt in the toilet on her head. then turned around and picked up the dormitory trash can and poured it on the bed of another roommate. There were constant screams in our dormitory, which was even more scary than the scene in a horror movie. After a while, students from other dormitories and the dormitory auntie came to watch. The dormitory aunt was also shocked by the chaos in the room and asked us what happened. I said calmly, "Today is April Fool's Day. I played a joke with my roommates. Aunt, don't worry about these. They're just props." Aunt frowned and wanted to say something, but she shut up when she accidentally kicked the luggage outside the door. She knew that we were in this dormitory. I was bullied every other day. How could I bully others? But she never cared, and today was the same. In her mind, it was a small matter if no one died. In the end, she just said, "Go to bed early and don't play too late." Then she left. As soon as the aunt left, I became more unscrupulous. I kicked the luggage into the room, locked the door, picked up the broom, and attacked indiscriminately. I sat on the stool to rest when I was tired of attacking. Looking at the two people who were beaten by me and fell to their knees on the ground, with red marks on their faces and hands and a few tears, I felt relieved in my previous life, except for Xiaoyi and Song-Yun. These two roommates were the worst. The sharp-tongued He-Fei was a small anchor. In the previous life, when he saw that the photos of me posted on the confession wall had become popular, he directly teamed up with Xiao Yi to start a live broadcast, saying that he would send a private photo of me if he received a certain amount of reward. Every night in the live broadcast room, he made up erotic stories about me to attract public attention and make a lot of money. The other silent roommate was called Xiaowei Ai. She was not talkative, but she did a lot of bad things. She got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet and poured water on my bed, deliberately hid my shoes, and secretly cut up my underwear that I hung out to dry. She did all these things. She remained silent when I asked her, and even though I caught her on the spot several times, she still acted like I did it. What can you do about it? In my last life, I listened to Xiao Yan really practiced harmonies, the most precious, and tolerated them again and again. I will not tolerate them in this life. When they were almost kneeling, I began to announce the new dormitory rules. I said one sentence, and Qifei and Xiao Ai on the ground were forced to say one sentence. If they didn't speak loud enough, I would hit them on the back with a broom. As for whether they would complain the next day, I was not worried at all. After all, today is April Fool's Day. When the counselor said, "It's Jokan April Fool's Day," I recorded it. There was no danger of being hit a few times by me or taking out some garbage. I had already made all the preparations. I kept tossing and turning until the lights went out, and then I let them go. I asked them to pack my luggage back to its original place. I used this time to take out a cardboard box from under the bed. There really were so-called electronic products, a filled box. It was amazing that they were willing to spend a lot of money. I didn't plan to return them, since they said they were my things. I took photos of them one by one and sent them to the school's second-in group. If you like them, you can pick them up tomorrow. After the distribution, I made my bed. In my previous life, I had never had a good sleep since I came to this school. In this life, I fell asleep in seconds. When I woke up again, it was already bright. Qifei and Xiaowei I were still snoring in bed, completely forgetting today's morning class. It seemed that they were really tired yesterday. I was very considerate and didn't wake them. Oopie liked to see them fail the exam, just like they locked me in the toilet many times to make me fail the exam, saying it's fun to see me fail the exam. Now, it's my turn to experience how fun it is to see you fail the exam. After the morning class, I went to see my sponsor in this life. He was still as gentle and caring as ever and was more like my relative than my parents. In my previous life, I disappointed him. In this life, I will definitely make achievements to repay his kindness in bringing me to the big city. The sponsor looked at me and suddenly asked me if I would like to be his godreader. I was so happy that I shed tears. Of course I would. I couldn't wait to call him Mom. He hugged me happily and said that he had negotiated with my parents in my hometown and would transfer my household registration here soon. From now on, I would not be Kiama, but the sponsor's daughter Sula, and I would have a very good future. All this happened too quickly. I was so happy that I was at a loss. I was afraid that it was just a dream. Fortunately, everything was real. The sponsor also agreed with me that when I was free, I could move my things in the dormitory to her house and we would live together as mother and daughter. Facing the current mom, no longer an ordinary sponsor, I told her all the grievances I suffered yesterday, and tears flowed all over my face. The grievances of 2 lifetimes were finally vented. Tom stroked my hair and said that I did the right thing. When facing injustice, I must have the courage to resist and ask the police for help. She also said that I could tell her if I encountered such a thing again in the future, and Mom would make the decision for me. I hugged her and cried and laughed, and it took a long time before we separated, because I still had to go to the police station to take a record of what happened last night. As soon as I arrived at the police station, I saw Sister Jiwo Ann, who had changed into a police uniform at this time and looked heroic. He asked me some simple questions as a matter of routine, and I answered them one by one. At the end, I saw an old acquaintance from my previous life again, the unscrupulous lawyer. He came again for the 3 beasts this time and wanted to reconcile with me, saying that they could come up with a very good amount of money. I smiled slightly and asked the lawyer in return, Mr. Lawyer, seeing the bearer such childish Barbie doll stickers on your bag, I guess you also have a daughter, right? If your daughter is violated today, will you persuade her to pay money to settle the matter? The lawyer's face turned red and white, and his mouth, which was once eloquent, could not say a word this time because he knew the pain when the needle pierced his flesh. At this time, Xiao Yi, Song Yin, and the counselor were also brought out. Unlike the high-spirited last night, the 3 of them became listless today. It seems that they should have confessed almost everything last night, told me that the 3 of them had admitted the facts of the crime, and with the evidence of the 3 beasts' accusations, the police would handle their cases according to the law. I bowed deeply to Sister Zhuo and all the hard-working staff and chose to leave. Later, when I heard about these people again, they had already been sentenced. According to the latest news on the confession wall, the counselor Xiao Yin and Song Yun were all insiders, and they worked together to receive benefits, brought strange men into the campus, attempted to commit illegal acts, and were convicted of joint crimes and sentenced to 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years, respectively. In order to express their apology, the school directly guaranteed me admission to graduate school and expelled the counselor Xiao Yan Song Yin. As for my desk mate, who has always been an insider, I did not deliberately retaliate against him. He was trembling every day, fell ill, and chose to drop out of school. After being taught a lesson by me, He Fei and Xiao I regarded me as the boss of the dormitory again and dared not to provoke me again. Later, new people moved into the dormitory. In my junior year, I moved to my mother's house. My mother had prepared a large room and warm furnishings for me. I really became her daughter and my household registration was moved here. Every day I wake up on a 8-meter tall bed, feel the morning sunshine pouring in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, eat the loving breakfast made by my mother, and look at her smile. It's great. I want to live a good life in this life.